So there are numerous challenges, and we don't have time to go through them all, but just some of the kind of the key ones. The first one are belief systems. We have an innate need to maintain or even enhance our view of ourselves. And the brain is particularly sensitive to situations which potentially threaten our self-image. So, for example, not being included in a conversation about an ongoing change, for example, could trigger a potential threat to our self-image because it could be perceived that we're not valued, our input isn't important, people don't care about what we think. And once our belief systems are established, they become self-validating. They go in search of data to support the beliefs. And therefore, it can be really hard to change belief systems. The second challenge, biased choice value. And by that we mean the choices that we make are likely to be biased by our past experiences and the values we place upon the alternative options. So if we've previously been involved in a change project that's had some really positive outcomes from our perspective, we will be very biased to make similar choices again because we've attached a positive value to those choices. And by doing similar things again, it actually is also satisfying the brain's need for certainty. So even in situations where, in the current situation, there's an awful lot of evidence pointing towards an alternative option, the brain may be persuaded by our biased choice value. We've also got to remember that when an individual is stressed, as many people are during ongoing change, even though they may be trying really hard to focus on the current change, in reality, they're most likely just to be reverting back to old ways because the brain just doesn't have the energy to suppress the old habits and ways of doing things, to focus all the energy it would take to focus on the change. Another reason is cognitive dissonance, which occurs when there is conflicting or inconsistent data. So, for example, when an individual's behaviour is not consistent with their thoughts and beliefs. How many times have you actually seen other people, you might have done this yourself, I'm not going to ask you to admit to it, but how many times have you seen a colleague comply with the change, the new way of doing something, when they know the boss is around? But as soon as that boss has gone into a meeting or has left for the day, they revert back to the old ways because of cognitive dissonance in many cases. For lasting change to take place, individuals must be able to commit to a new way of doing something and also be motivated towards the new thinking and goals around that change. That then leads to new attitudes being formed, and when the new attitudes are then aligned to the change, successful long-term change will occur. Now, there are many reasons why people don't change their behaviour, even when it can be viewed as being desirable. One example could be if people have not been given the opportunity to draw their own conclusions, if they've just been told, this is a good thing, this is a good idea, without actually being given the kind of the downsides as well, the full picture. Because that then creates an actual threat to our autonomy, our ability to have choice. Or if an individual is experiencing stress or cognitive overload, then they will be struggling to make rational decisions and choices. The fourth one is protective versus productive mode. When we move into a threat state, we focus upon staying safe. We keep our heads down, we become hypervigilant to risk, we're less innovative, and we move to that either or type, black or white type thinking. We move into what is referred to as protective mode, which is where we make decisions based on past experiences. We feel that we don't matter if we don't have a say in the change. We look for evidence to confirm our beliefs that change is possibly bad. And we will be experiencing potential threats to the 5 social domains, often referred to as the SCARE model, or you might know it better as the SCARF model. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in our last chapter. So we lose motivation and we do the absolute bare minimum that we need to do to kind of get through. I think the other thing to be aware of, it's important that we all experience change in different ways. While some people, and many of you here today, find it exciting, for other people it'd be really quite draining and possibly even something to be feared. Also, we find different situations stressful. Some people may already be at maximum cognitive load before they even get into work, with all the worries, the cost of living, caring for perhaps loved ones, relationship or health issues, and so on. This means that really it's useful to think of the protective and productive modes more as a continuum, with people being at different places on that continuum at any one time. So when a change is first announced, it's natural to see a shift towards the protective mode. Even in kind of highly performing, highly productive teams, we will see that shift towards the protective mode. Now, the degree and longevity of that shift is influenced by several factors. The degree to which the team feels psychologically safe, the individual's appetite for change, and even their capacity, that cognitive load capacity for change, and the triggering of either a threat or reward responses in those SCARE or SCARF domains.